There's been some talk recently about Misfits Boxing, owned by KSI, and MVP, which is Jake Paul's promotional company. Both of these promotions have similarities, of course. They're both founded by YouTube boxers, and they're trying to build up new fighters by growing their star power. However, MVP and Misfits have two entirely different visions, business models, and types of events that they put on. And I personally love this. Let's tackle MVP first. MVP is Jake Paul's creation, and they've made quite a splash in women's boxing, as they signed one of the greatest fighters of this generation in Amanda Serrano. She's been getting better paydays as a result, and MVP even co-promoted her fight with Katie Taylor, which was the first ever women's boxing match to headline Madison Square Garden. MVP is planting itself firmly in the pro boxing scene, and they have even signed solid boxing prospects that will hopefully grow into superstars. This is all great stuff, and seeing younger boxing talent get opportunities like this with MVP's help is fantastic. The only issue with MVP is the lack of a consistent home to watch their events. MVP has been associated with Showtime, DAZN, and now ESPN with the Jake Paul vs Tommy Fury fight. With Misfits Boxing, they have signed a 5-year deal with DAZN, so everybody knows where to watch any new Misfits events. Speaking of Misfits, they are working with Wasserman Boxing to put on their shows. However, Misfits is straying from the traditional boxing industry for the most part, and this is very different from MVP's business model. Most of the fighters signed to Misfits are influencers, and among them are some real superstars which Misfits helped create. Slim, for example, is on a 6-fight win streak at the moment, and Soul Papi has caught the attention of real boxing fans and promoters with his excellent performances. KSI has made an effort to always recognize where he came from, that being YouTube, and Misfits is a reflection of that same mindset. Misfits have their own belts and champions, they run their own events in association with DAZN, and Misfits has its own little ecosystem, which is cool. MVP is trying to assimilate with pro boxing, which is ambitious, while Misfits is trying to chart their own course, which is again, very ambitious. KSI and Jake Paul aren't YouTubers just messing around anymore. These dudes have the potential to cement boxing's future moving forward. Unlike traditional boxing, Misfits now has pro wrestling style gimmicks like the mystery opponent and now tag team matches to break up the formula. Misfits is inspired heavily by WWE, with them bringing back fighters and attempting to develop storylines. Even though I'm aware that Misfits are doing their own thing with the influencer boxing stuff, there have still been pro fighters joining the promotion, and this is not only a good step for Misfits to take, I think it's a crucial one too. For instance, Hasim Rahman Jr. and Greg Hardy went at it, and that was an awesome fight. Anthony Taylor vs Idris Virgo was another matchup that happened on the latest Misfits event, and it felt like somewhat of a precursor to the Pro League that they're setting up. Misfits is in the middle of creating an 8-man tournament featuring all pro boxers or MMA fighters, and they will compete for a cash prize of $1 million. This tournament structure is a smart way of differentiating their influencer boxing content and the pro fighting. I think Misfits definitely took a page out of what MVP was doing with Serrano and the traditional boxing scene. They saw the commercial success that MVP was having with signing Serrano, so Misfits is now getting boxing prospects and pro fighters of their own to compete. Again, Misfits have set up this tournament structure to not mess with their influencers fighting, with the latter being their real bread and butter. As Misfits creates a bigger stable of influencer boxers with huge personalities and fan bases, I could see a world where the promotion becomes massive like the WWE or the UFC. Anyway, Misfits was influenced by MVP most likely when coming up with the Pro League idea, but at the same time, MVP was inspired by Misfits just as much. How? We'll take a look at the Jake Paul vs Anderson Silva card. Dr. Mike, a YouTuber, fought an MMA fighter in Chris Avila. Uriah Hall, who was another MMA fighter, took on a football player. These fights are the definition of crossover boxing, and who invented crossover boxing? That's right, Misfits. Misfits and MVP are direct competitors working in the same industry, but with two completely different visions. However, these promotions are both smart enough to get ideas from one another and integrate them into their events moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if Serrano vs Taylor 2 has another crossover boxing match on the undercard. As for Misfits, I can definitely see them doing more pro boxing tournaments and blur the lines more and more. I think this competition is good in the YouTube boxing space as it keeps MVP and Misfits on the top of their game. This video idea stemmed from MVP saying that they were focused on building the future of pro boxing, while Misfits is just an entertainment product. I think that the actions MVP have taken so far with Serrano and signing up-and-coming fighters is making traditional boxing better. However, I also believe that Misfits has the potential to stick around even after KSI vs Jake Paul is done and become a huge global entity in combat sports. In the words of the Wade concept, I guess we'll find out.